Ladies and gentlemen, Snow White's opening weekend has passed by, and now, after, I don't know, a couple years or so of controversial statements from the star of Snow White, word about the direction of this movie, things like that, after a good, I don't know, year and a half long PR nightmare, or 2 year long PR nightmare, Snow White is finally out, and now we can actually look at its box office numbers, see how well it's doing. Basically, all of us predicted that this movie was going to flop. Is it flopping so far? Let's see. I'm on boxofficemojo.com, and what numbers do we have for Snow White from its opening weekend? Domestic box office opening $43 million, international $44 million, and worldwide total $87 million, $87 million and change. Folks, for a Disney movie, that is a terrible opening weekend. And so far, my expectations for this movie were that it would be a flop, and early indications are this movie might exceed my expectations. I'll just show you a few things for context. So here at Deadline, this was the first box office projection that I had seen. This was from a month and a half ago at this point. What were the opening weekend projections? Quorum report a 3-day start for the Mark Webb directed movie of $63 to $70 million, while other sources believe $65 million at this point in time is fair. And this is domestic, so they were thinking $63 to $70 million domestically. Then a few weeks later, there was another projection where it dropped down to $53 million roughly. What was Snow White's actual domestic opening weekend? Only $43 million. So box office projections were low to begin with, they dropped as the weeks passed on, and then the actual domestic box office numbers for Snow White's opening weekend were even worse. Now if we go to Rotten Tomatoes here, professional critics don't seem to like this movie very much. The Rotten Tomatoes score for fans or audience members, I guess it's a bit higher here, but again, not a lot of people are seeing this movie, and this really is the bottom line here. I mean, Rachel Zegler made so many bad statements about the original Snow White. She angered so many fans that a lot of people said, no, I'm not going to watch this movie. If some of those people did watch the movie, this score would be lower. And from what I've seen of reviews, I guess people are saying that Rachel Zegler is a very good singer, okay? But I'm also hearing that this movie's an absolute mess. I'm hearing a lot of people say that the dwarfs are the kind of thing that you would see in your nightmares. I've heard that yes, this movie indeed has been updated for modern audiences. They have put in some social or political messaging in there. They have the usual modern day stereotype of women being girl bosses and men being useless bumbling idiots. That's what I'm hearing. I mean, just to be clear, I'm not watching this movie. I'm not paying to see this. Me, I hit a point a good few years back where if I see that they're going to be current daying a movie or a show, if I see that they're going to be updating it for modern audiences, if I see that they're going to be putting modern messages into it, if they're making an adaptation of a book or an original movie and I hear that they're going to be making changes to it, they're going to be, I don't know, turning the female characters into girl bosses and turning the men into stupid idiots, things like that. If I hear that they're going to be doing that, I'm not paying to see it. I do think the best way to fight back against this sort of thing is with your wallet. Oh, wait a minute, look at IMDb here. Snow White, 66,000 reviews, 2 out of 10. Holy smokes, this is terrible. But Rotten Tomatoes here has a 74 score for Snow White. That's kinda suspicious, Rotten Tomatoes. But anyway, I'm gonna give you a little more context on Snow White's opening weekend. Do you remember when The Marvels came out in November of last year, or a year ago, year and a half ago at this point? Remember how bad that movie did in theaters? And I kinda forgot off the top of my head how its opening weekend was, because it was over a year ago at this point, but I found this article from Variety. This is from November 12th of 2023. The Marvels misfires with $47 million opening weekend, which is lowest MCU opening weekend of all time. And this $47 million, it's domestic. And I'll read you this random sentence from the article. The Marvels also fell short of expectations at the international box office with $63.3 million from 51 territories for a worldwide start of $110 million. So The Marvels, its opening weekend, according to Variety from over a year ago, $110 million. And again, yeah, this is from over a year ago, so I kind of forgot what its opening weekend was off the top of my head, but they're saying here $110 million worldwide opening weekend. Snow White's opening weekend, $87 million. How much did the Marvels make at the box office in total? $206 million. That's it. I mean, this movie was an enormous flop. Again, its opening weekend, $110 million. And it finished with $206 million worldwide. $110 million opening weekend for the Marvels. Snow White had a lower opening weekend than the Marvels, only $87 million. I mean, it is possible for Snow White to have some longer legs at the box office. It is possible that word of mouth might spread that this movie's decent, and that might allow it to not have such a big drop off next week and the week after. It is possible, but I don't think that's going to happen. But so far, folks, Snow White is doing even worse than the Marvels, and the Marvels was an enormous flop. Marvels again made $206 million worldwide. Is it possible for Snow White to make even less than that? Even less than the Marvels? I mean, it's kind of hard for a Disney movie to do as bad as the Marvels did, but with Snow White, it's looking possible so far. It really is. Oh boy, folks. And Snow White definitely had a huge production budget. I don't know what the exact number is. A lot of people are saying $300 million. It honestly might be higher than that because this movie did do a lot of reshoots. I saw one rumor once that it might be as high as $500 million or $500 million. I don't know. But regardless, this movie had a big production budget. It had reshoots, which that drives the production budget up even higher. And this movie's not going to make anywhere near enough money to break even. This movie's going to be a huge flop for Disney from what it's looking like so far, and it's going to lose them a ton of money. And honestly, I think we all knew it was going to lose Disney money, including people at Disney. But me, I want to see if Snow White can do worse than the Marvels here. It's looking like a possibility. I really do think Snow White can accomplish this. It's a real tall task, but it looks like Snow White can do it. I believe in Snow White. I think they can accomplish that. I think they can be a bigger flop than the Marvels, but we'll see. Have a good day, everyone.